Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be talking to you about all of the books that I read since I basically stopped making videos. So this is kind of since like the end of 2019. I think I technically made maybe 1 or 2 videos in 2020, but like my last wrap up was like October 2019 or something like that. So I'm going to be basically going through all of the books that I've read since then up until I started my channel again, and it's actually not that many considering how long it is, because that's how big of a reading slump I was in. I'm not going to be going into detail about the books that I started and got halfway through and then put down, because some of those books I think I'm really gonna love. So yeah, I'm basically just going to go through the books that I read in full, and I probably won't go into too much detail about them, not only because do I not remember, but also it'll take like way too long for a general sort of wrap up video. So yeah, won't go into too much detail, but I'll give you my ratings and everything as well, and what I remember about thinking about the books as well. So the first book I'm going to show you is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. I read this book before the pandemic, and this is basically about a group of girls who live on an island in quarantine because there is this mysterious illness kind of going rampant and affecting them all in really different ways. And I really loved it. It also has a sapphic romance. Basically, the whole premise of this book is that they end up discovering that there's something more sinister going on the island. And honestly, I had so much fun reading this book. It's very weird. It's probably not for everybody, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had so much fun. This next book I think is definitely around the point where I really started trying to get out of a reading slump, because I could feel one coming on, but it wasn't working at that point. So I was doing a lot of like rereads and like easy graphic novels and stuff like that. So the next book is a reread of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book was super popular on BookTube a few years ago, and it's recently made the rounds on BookTok as well, and it's still one of my favorites to this day. I've read it 3 times now. I just love it so much. This one is obviously a 5 out of 5 star read. This is maybe my favorite book of all time. I adore this book. It makes me cry. It makes me so happy. It just makes me feel so many things, and it is easily one of the best books I've ever read. Next up, I read Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff. This is the final book in the Nevernight trilogy. I just had to read this because, you know, I'd been reading Nevernight since the beginning and I absolutely loved it. According to Goodreads, I rated this one 5 out of 5 stars, but like I feel like upon reflection it's probably more of a 4 or 4.5. I can't remember why. I just remember enjoying the first 2 books more than this, I think. Honestly, I don't know why I can't remember this book as well as I can. Like, I am just kind of like mind blanking at the moment, but I did enjoy this and I'm really glad that I wrapped up the series and finished it. Next up, I have With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this I believe was her second book that came out. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I just love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing so much. I do remember really enjoying this. There's like lots of beautiful descriptions of food in here. It's about a teenage mother. Her name's Imani, and she basically just loves to cook, and I think she gets a scholarship, or she's working towards a scholarship, or towards like making cooking a career for herself. And I loved it so much. It was so beautifully written. It was absolutely amazing, and if you haven't picked up any of Elizabeth Acevedo's work yet, I definitely recommend it, because she is just a master of words. Like, her writing is beautiful. Next up, I have Saga volumes 4 and 5 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I love this series so much. This is a series of graphic novels basically about like kind of star-crossed lovers, and it's so good. I really need to reread these because I really want to catch up. I think there's like because I've got like up to volume 6. I think there's 9 volumes in total now, so I've got a few that I need to catch up on and buy. So I think I'm gonna reread them all and then get them at some point, so I'm up to date and I remember what's going on. If you're looking for like a graphic novel series to read, I definitely recommend Saga. It's so well done. All right, sorry for any weird lighting or position changes. My battery died. So the next book that I did read and absolutely loved, I really need to read the sequel now, is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I had so much fun reading this. I can't actually remember whether I listened to the audiobook or physically read this one, but I had so much fun with this book. It's about a witch and a witch hunter, and I mean, obviously they fall in love because it's an enemies to lovers, and I can't actually remember much apart from that. It says the war between witches and the church is an ancient one, and Lou's most dangerous enemies bring a fate worse than fire. Oh, they're also forced into a marriage. I forgot. Yeah, they're forced to get married because of something the main character does. But yes, so it's got the forced marriage trope, it's enemies to lovers, and it's just really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I should probably reread this because I didn't realize how much I forgot in this book, and I still need to read Blood and Honey and the latest book that just came out as well. So I need to get my shit together and reread this. I thought this book cured my reading slump. It didn't, but that's fine. I still had a lot of fun reading it and I definitely recommend it. The next book that I read was The Life of Captain Marvel by Margaret Stoll. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't like the best. I enjoyed it. It was like a fun read, but it wasn't like anything super special. And then the last book that I read for 2019 was Words on Bathroom Walls by Julia Walton. I'm not gonna lie, apparently I rated this one 5 out of 5 stars. I can't remember what this was about. I know it's about a boy named Adam who has schizophrenia, and he has, I believe, like visual hallucinations as well as auditory. I can't remember anything about this. I don't know why. I must have really liked it. Or it might have just been like one of those books that I actually like just consumed really quickly and really enjoyed. So maybe that was that, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember anything about this book. So 2020 is where my reading totally went downhill, and at this point I was mostly reading either like graphic novels or nothing, and then towards the end of the year I started to read a little bit more again. So the first book for 2020 that I have to show you is Taproot by Kizzy Young. This is a really cute graphic novel about Blue and Hamal. Hamal can see ghosts and Blue is the ghost. This is such a cute, beautiful romance between Blue and Hamal, and it's just so precious. Like, I had so much fun reading this, and it was really like warm and cozy. That's all I really remember from this. Next up, I have Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi, and I really enjoyed this. This was a reread for me at the time, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think I either gave it 4 or 5 out of 5 stars for my first read through of it as well. And yeah, I think I listened to the audiobook for my reread of this as well. So I really enjoyed this. This is about a girl named Zelly, and she goes on this adventure to bring back magic to her world of Arisha. There's like an enemies to lovers romance in here as well, and it's just really well done. I absolutely loved it. There's lots of really cool like magic powers in here as well. Like the magic system is really well done, I think, like from what I remember anyway, and I just really love it. Like, there's a rogue princess as well. This book did get a lot of hype on BookTube a few years ago, but I haven't seen it around for a while. So if you haven't picked this up yet or haven't seen it, I definitely recommend giving this one a shot. Next up, I have part 1 and 2 of Avatar: The Search. I absolutely love Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is one of my favorite cartoons or shows in general. Not to spoil anything, but at the end of the show there is something that is not answered and unresolved. And The Search is the comic book series that kind of delves into what happens immediately after the show ends. If you love the show, like the way that they write the characters in the comic, it's basically exactly how they would talk in the show. It's really well done, but it's just in a written form. Obviously not as good as the show, but it's still amazing. Next up, I have Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Out With Me by Mariko Tamaki, and I didn't love this as much as everyone else seemed to. I have seen so many really good reviews for this one, like mostly 4 and 5 stars. I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know why, I just really didn't like the love interest, and I know you're not supposed to because it's like she's an unlikable character, but I just could not get past it. And because of that, like, she just made me so angry. The art style is absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's still a really beautiful story. I just hated the fucking love interest. I thought she was a total asshole, so I didn't enjoy this as much as I would have liked to. I know her being an asshole was kind of the point of the story. I just couldn't do it. Like, I know it was the point, but it's just not for me. All right, next I have Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas. This is book 1 and 2 in the series. I feel like this doesn't really need an introduction. Everyone knows what these books are about. I thought I'd reread these because I still haven't read Kingdom of Ash, and so I started rereading these last year in the hopes that 1, I would get through them to reread Kingdom of Ash, and 2, get out of my reading slump. And neither of those things happened. I basically, because like Crown of Midnight is one of my favorites from Sarah J Maas. I absolutely loved it. And then Heir of Fire, I think I got like halfway through Heir of Fire again and then stopped reading because it's not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite book in the entire Throne of Glass series, and I just don't have fun reading it. Next up, I have Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. I really love this book. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. This is set in Brooklyn in the 90s. I absolutely loved it. It's basically about this group of friends who, one of them ends up dying, unfortunately, but he ends up leaving all of these mixtapes, and his friends discovers that he's actually really fucking good. His music ends up catching the attention of music reps and whatnot, and there's this whole mystery aspect to it as well, and it's just really well done. I thoroughly enjoyed this. If you're looking for a contemporary with sort of like a YA mystery thrown into the mix as well, I definitely recommend this one. Really well done, really well written. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Next up, I have All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a non-fiction, so it's a memoir, and I love this so much. I think I technically gave this 5 out of 5 stars, but I don't normally like to rate like memoir type stuff anyway, but honestly this was just so well written. It really explores the author's journey to kind of reconcile his blackness with his queerness, and it's just really beautifully written, really well done. The audiobook is really good to listen to as well because it is narrated by the author, and it's just, I love this book so much. I can't remember specifics, but there are a lot of trigger warnings for this. I will leave them in the description below. Like, I'll leave a list somewhere next to the name of this book. But if you're looking for a non-fiction or like a memoir, or even just like an exploration into the intersection of blackness and queerness, definitely recommend this one. It's so well done. I loved it. It was really good. Next up, I read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This, again, was another reread in another attempt to get out of my reading slump. Clearly, I feel like I read a lot of really good books during the time that I wasn't reading a lot, but it just didn't help me at all. This is obviously another really popular YA series. It's about a heist of a team of 6 members, and they're all amazing characters, really well written. Love the plot, love the series. I had so much fun rereading this, had a good cry, and it was just a fun time. So the last book that I read and finished in 2020, I also really loved it. I didn't really read a lot from the end of 2020 until I started my booktube channel again. So that whole kind of like 5 or 6 months didn't really finish any book whatsoever. That book is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I had so much fun reading this book. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. This is about a girl named Liz who really needs to win a scholarship, and in her high school they're all really obsessed with prom, and so whoever is crowned prom king and prom queen gets a scholarship, and so she ends up being in the running for prom queen and has her own campaign and everything. And one of her competitors she ends up falling in love with, and it's just a beautiful sapphic romance. The main character Liz is a lesbian as well, and I just had so much fun reading this. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's just a really beautiful contemporary, really well written as well. Definitely recommend it if you haven't already read it. I absolutely love this book so much. I'm surprised this one didn't like get me out of my reading slump, because I literally wrote in my Goodreads review, I was like, wow, okay, super cute. This is the fluffy contemporary I needed, and I feel like this might be the book to get me out of my reading slump, question mark. So yeah, again, didn't get me out of my reading slump, but I still loved it so much. Really beautiful, cute, fun, fluffy contemporary. Okay, so that is it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know I didn't read too much over the past couple of years. I have a lot of catching up to do. I am still kind of figuring out where to start, and also like what I'm interested in now, because I feel like since I've been in the reading slump, like, or since I've gotten out of it, like since then my reading tastes have kind of changed a little bit. Like, I still love YA, but I just feel myself gravitating towards so many other types of stories and types of writing, and I'm really excited for it. But it's just, maybe that was why I was in a reading slump. Maybe I just needed to actually listen to my gut and like gravitate towards different types of stories. I don't know. Let's just hope I don't get in another, you know, 1.5 year long reading slump again, because that would suck. And yeah, I feel like the books that I did read while I was in a giant slump, I did for the most part really enjoy. I obviously read a lot of graphic novels and stuff like that, but I am still really happy with what I did manage to read, and I'm just glad that I'm back into reading again now, and that I'm enjoying my time reading again, and I'm rediscovering that love for it. I will leave all of my socials down in the description below, and I also stream on Twitch. That is twitch.tv/tkitty with 2 Y's, and yeah, I'll see you all later for a new video. I hope you have a good day or night, and I'll see you later. Bye.